So this is my favorite genre of YouTube videos. It's unhinged deep dives into any form of media. And a couple, obviously, if you're watching this, you've probably watched every single unhinged deep dive that's ever been put on the internet. Obviously, these videos are so heavily inspired by the legend that is Mike's Mike, Carrie Can Read, Jenny Nicholson. Even recently, Uncarly put out a really good video, a deep dive into the first season of Riverdale, and it was so good. And I was like, you know what? I was like, this is my favorite kind of YouTube videos. What media that hasn't been talked about already would I be really good at doing a deep dive in? And you guessed it, National Treasure. Let me tell you a little bit about my personal relationship with the National Treasure franchise. Today we are just going to be talking about the first movie, but if this video does well, if I like it, I definitely will talk about Book of Secrets, which is the sequel. This movie stars Nicolas Cage, and it is an absolute roller coaster. It is insane. There is so much historical inaccuracy. But as someone who was living in kind of the 2000s, I was a child, the movie came out in 2004 when I would have been 5 in 2004. And I probably saw it when I was maybe 9 or 10 for the first time. So I saw it in like 2008, 2010, 2009, etc. And I was obsessed. I was also an American Girl doll kid. I was a Felicity girl. So I loved kind of like the Revolutionary War era American history. I just thought it was really interesting. And so thus, these movies, they really did something for me. So where's my TV remote? Because we're going to get started right now. I had to make a PowerPoint and then convert it to a JPEG and then put it on my TV because I don't have enough room on a wall to be able to put pictures. I also don't have a color printer to be able to put character photos up, and I wanted to have them. So let's dive in, shall we? We open on a creepy attic. And it says Washington, D.C., 1974. It's just a creepy attic. There's a little kid walking around. He's snooping. He's exploring. And he finds he finds this like fancy little book, right? He is still browsing the attic, opening this book. And all of a sudden he gets jump scared by an old man. The old man is his grandpa. Hey, grandpa. Also, him getting jump scared by his grandpa is like actually so creepy. When I was a child and I first watched this, I was like, oh my God, I am scared. So grandpa, the kid's like asking about the book, and the grandpa's like, it's finally time for you to know the truth. Let me tell you the story. So the grandpa tells him this story that apparently in the year 1832, there was this old guy who signed the Declaration of Independence, and he was also a Freemason. I promise that's going to come up later. And he was also dying. He was very quickly dying. And apparently this old guy was racing as fast as he could, bends basically against the clock because he knew he was dying, to try to meet with the president. And he wasn't able to meet with the president, who was at the time, I believe, Andrew Jackson. And he's dying very quickly. And he has a secret to tell the president. The president isn't available. It's the middle of the night. So you want to know who he tells this secret to? He tells it to this guy's great-grandpa. A grandpa. The little kid is this guy. Sorry, I don't know why I'm touching my touch. I meant to have this pen. It's a paint pen. So the story is that he tells great-grandpa was about this crazy treasure. There was this treasure that was like so big, and it was fought over for centuries. It suddenly vanished out of nowhere. About 1,000 years later, after the treasure disappeared, some knights from the First Crusade found it in a vault, and they took the name the Knights Templar to basically like keep it a secret that they found this treasure, because they knew it was a huge freaking treasure. And then for some reason, it started getting smuggled into the U.S. I don't know why. But sure. And they renamed themselves the Freemasons. Like I said, it did come up later. Apparently George Washington, according to this story, apparently George Washington was a Freemason. Benjamin Franklin was a Freemason. But there was only one clue left about where to find this treasure. And that was the secret that old declaration guy that was dying gave to great-grandpa. This guy's great-grandpa. And the clue that he gave great grandpa was this slip of paper that says the secret lies with Charlotte. That's all it said. The secret lies with Charlotte. So apparently there's clues everywhere that the Freemasons put on everything because they were all founding fathers apparently, including the eye on the $1 bill, which is the all-seeing eye over this like pyramid. Grandpa is still kind of telling this story, and all of a sudden comes in this guy's father, and he's pissed that grandpa is telling, sorry, I didn't even say his name. His name's Benjamin Franklin Gates, and he goes by Ben. Dad is pissed that grandpa is telling Ben the story because he's saying like, oh my God, you're like encouraging me to chase fool's gold. I spent so much of my life, I wasted it trying to find this stupid treasure. Cut to current day, aka 2004. Ben Gates, once again, he is driving a snowcat on some snowy hills / wasteland. It flashes across the screen that it says we're north of the Arctic Circle. Cool, I guess, that's fine. Some guy in the cat asks if they're getting close. The person who answers this question is none other than Riley Poole. Love him. Big fan. Riley is very quickly established as like a very nerdy character by saying all this kind of sciencey tracking lingo. And he's saying that they're, quote, very close. Ben is also very quickly established as being in charge of this group because he knows everything. I hate him. Oh my God, he pisses me off so bad. And then Riley's machine, his laptop, his whole setup starts beeping. And all of Ian's goons, they like stop the snowcats, and then all of Ian, who's the guy earlier who asked if they were almost there, all of him and his goons get out of all the snowcats. There's like 2 or 3 of them. There's 2 of them. I know I said 3 of them. There's 2 snowcats, and them 3 plus 1 goon were in one snowcat, and then the 3 other goons were in another snowcat. So they all start walking around the ground, and they start using some metal detectors. One of the goons asks Riley, how could a ship have ended up all the way up here? It's a really bad accent, but that's how he sounds, kind of. And Riley once again proves that he's super, super smart, and answers, and I apparently didn't write notes on what he says, but he just is established as like a very nerdy, very sciencey man. He knows technology and, how the world works. They all start digging, and they find an entire wooden ship in like they're led to believe a couple hours, maybe 3 hours. I don't even know. It was like, it's still light out, and it's definitely still the same day from being completely buried underneath the snow. That's crazy. That's so fast. They only have like 7 people, but whatever. Okay, cool. Whatever. Ian and Ben have kind of a little bit of a bonding moment. They're just like established to be buddies. They're laughing, whatever. And then they go into the hull of the ship. They start going down in the ship. While wandering the hull of the ship, they find a skeleton of what we're assuming is the captain of the ship clutching a barrel. And Ben is like, I wonder why the captain is clutching that specific barrel. That seems weird. They start opening all the barrels, and all the barrels have gunpowder in them. Spooky. Ben opens the barrel that the captain was clutching. Inside the barrel, Ben finds this engraved box with a super fancy pipe that's called a meerschaum pipe. I don't know what it means, but basically the body of the pipe looks like it's carved to look like a ship, and I'm assuming it's carved out of ivory, and then the base of it is like wooden and cork. Maybe, I don't know. It's supposed to be super old, so I have no idea. Ben basically disconnects the pipe. He like breaks it, and everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? That's like a 200-year-old pipe. Are you crazy? Ben's like, oh my God, trust me. I know what I'm doing. He takes out a pocket knife, cuts his thumb open, runs it over the base of the pipe, like not the handle, I guess I should say, not the base, and pulls out a sheet of paper and uses his blood as ink, rolls the handle of the pipe on some paper, and it puts down a riddle, a code. The riddle reads as follows. I wrote it down. The legend writ, the stain affected, the key in silence, uppercase S, that's not actually part of the riddle, the key in silence undetected, 55 in iron pen, Mr. Matlack can't offend. Can't offend. I didn't pronounce that correctly. So Ben kind of starts working through the riddle, right? He decides that the legend and the key part connects to a map because, I took a map making class, not a map making class. It was just like a class on maps and how they work and how to read them. there's a legend in a key. And he also says that the stain affected line could mean that it was also an invisible map. He also comes to a conclusion that iron pen means iron as in strong, as in like kind of strong-willed about what was written. Mr. Matlack refers to Timothy Matlack, who was the official scribe of the Continental Congress when the U.S. was established, and he apparently put it on the back of a resolution, the map, a resolution that he transcribed that 55 men signed. The Declaration of Independence. There's a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Holy shit. Well, discussing how they're still in the hole of ship, and they're discussing how they could examine the Declaration of Independence. And Ian basically announces that the only way that they're going to let them look at the document is to steal it. Also including that he's done arrangements of questionable legality. Okay, shady man. Who the hell are you? He's also British, I forgot to mention. This man is British. He's also played by Sean Bean, who slays as our favorite Boromir in Lord of the Rings fame. And also Game of Thrones. Y'all ever watch Game of Thrones? Y'all ever heard of Ned Stark? Anyway, Ben literally just says no. He's like, no, we're not going to steal the Declaration. We're not going to do it. Ian, and he says, Ian, I'm not going to let you steal the Declaration of Independence. And then one of Ian's goons, I'm going to call them the goons. They're just the goons. One of Ian's goons pulls a gun on Ben and Riley. This is a moment. Ben strikes a flare on the top of one of the barrels. And obviously there's a ton of gunpowder on the floor from all the barrels they opened because they were just like tossing them aside trying to look for shit. The flare ends up getting dropped. Ian and his goonies just start running. They just start running. They're also shooting at Ben and Riley, but that's neither here nor there. They just start running and they lock Ben and Riley in the hull of the ship. Ben and Riley are able to get to a smuggler's hold in the ship. I don't actually know what that means, and I don't care to learn, but I'm assuming it's something that's like a little improved, like enforced by iron. And they somehow survive the ship exploding and have to hike to a village that is supposedly 9 miles away. Ian and all the goons get in the snowcats and drive away. They get away. They're good. They're all good. We're all good. Ben and Riley make it out. I don't know how they did that because they had to walk 9 miles somewhere north of the Arctic Circle. They were not prepared. Did they even have gloves on? I don't know. I don't remember. Cool. I'm afraid for them. I hope they don't literally freeze to death. Cool. So cut to Washington, D.C. It kind of pans across that they are at the J. Edgar Hoover FBI building in Washington, D.C. And Ben and Riley are trying to convince all the different entities, basically in the U.S. government, including the FBI, that Ian's going to try to steal the Declaration. And those in powerful positions are obviously not believing them. So they finally, kind of as a last resort, go to National Archives and meet with someone named Dr. Abigail Chase. We love her. She's my favorite character, and she should be your favorite character. You know, in their meeting with Dr. Chase, they try to, I don't know why I call her Dr. Chase. I'm going to call her Abigail from here on out, but I don't know why I just call her Dr. Chase. In their meeting with Abigail, they try to convince her that someone is going to try to steal the Declaration of Independence. And she's like, y'all, that's literally impossible. They're trying to also convince a literal historian. That's like, she has multiple degrees in like document preservation and like history and stuff, that there's an encryption on the back of the Declaration of Independence, and rightfully so. She laughs in their faces and is like, y'all are fucking crazy. By the way, at this point in the meeting, Ben is going by the name Paul Brown, and I'm saying it like that because that's how Abigail says it, and it makes me laugh. And Riley doesn't realize that they're using fake names. What does he say his name is? I don't remember. They're using fake names. So she knows him by the name Paul Brown right now because obviously we'll find out later. But the name Gates is not very well respected in historical communities, and we'll find out why. Basically, she's not convinced that there's an encryption on the back of the Declaration. She's like, she laughs at them off. She's like, get away from here. Whatever the fuck are you doing? While they're about to leave, Ben notices that Abigail has a collection of historical Revolutionary War era campaign buttons. And he notices that she is missing one of them, but I promise the campaign button thing will come up later. There's a reason I mentioned it. Ben just continues to be a know-it-all. He is so fucking annoying. I hate that he knows everything. I hate it. But he's just so annoying. Like, I can't with this man. Stop it. He's pissing me off. Also, after they leave their meeting with Abigail, they're in the National Archives, the lobby. I've been there. And this room was packed full. It was so full when I was there. And somehow Ben and Riley are in the archives lobby where all the documents are displayed. And there's no one in there. There's literally 6 people. It's empty. I'm sorry, did they go on a random freaking Tuesday? But there would still be school groups, so I don't understand. There's no one in there. And then Ben uses his infamous, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. He says that. He looks at the document and he's like, the only way to protect this document from Ian stealing it is by me stealing it. Boy, that doesn't make sense to me. Are you kidding? Anyway, he says he's going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Riley obviously tries to talk Ben down by letting him know, hey, bestie, you're going to go to prison if you do that. Why the hell would you do that? Ben rationalizes by saying that, yeah, Ian's going to steal it and he's going to destroy it. So Ben thinks that the only way to protect it is by stealing it. They have moved to the Library of Congress for the second part of the conversation. Riley gives a huge spiel about how all the ways that the Declaration is protected, and then Ben pulls out this book, once again being a know-it-all, that talks about the preservation room. And there's a lot of early 2000s cutscene editing that's zoom and enhance it, zoom and enhance and zoom and enhance, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna freak out. This is too much for me. Ben basically says that they can sneak down and get it during the National Archives gala that is taking place that upcoming weekend. They can sneak down to the preservation room because that is where it is stored when it is not being displayed actively. Apparently that convinces Riley. I don't know. Cool. He's like, yeah, we're going to commit some federal crimes that are going to put us in prison forever. He keeps saying that Ben's going to go to prison, but I don't think he understands that by him helping Ben, he would also be complicit and he too would go to federal prison. So, boy, I don't know what the hell's up wrong with you. I think it's the next day. Riley does all sorts of hardwiring. He goes into this basement tunnel off the side of next to the subway system in DC, and basically hardwires these security cameras so that he can have access to them. He's I literally don't know what he's doing, but honestly, it doesn't really seem realistic because it's that typical movie trope where it's oh my god, the smart person can literally do anything. They can just hack and code. I don't get it, but I know it's not realistic. Let's talk about that. Another side point, this kind of will come up later, but not really. Riley has a creepy van. He has a creepy minivan, not a minivan. It's he has a creepy van. We flash back to Ben in his apartment and Ben eats microwave lasagna. I don't know why I felt the need to mention that, but I think it's really funny. And he continues to kind of firm up the plan of how they're going to get the Declaration. There's also another zoom and enhance scene where Ben copies a National Archive employee's badge to basically make a badge with his face on it so that he can pretend to be an employee. He also, while this is all happening, sends Abigail the missing campaign button that she was missing from her collection, but that is not before he puts on this weird sort of glow-in-the-dark liquid on it. I don't know what it is. I don't exactly know what it does, but it works for their purposes later because he knows that she's going to touch the button. Obviously, he knows she's going to handle the button, so her fingerprints will get on it. So then cut back to Ian and his team forming their plan of how they're going to get the Declaration. They have lots of dynamite. Oh my God, they have so much dynamite. It is horrifying. And yeah, that's kind of the extent of the scene. Dynamite and guns. Cool. So now it is the night of the fancy gala, and Ben is dressed as a maintenance worker, and he sneaks in kind of a side entrance while one of the security guards is distracted. The badge works. He's able to get in, and then he sneaks into the bathroom, takes off his maintenance worker outfit, hides his utility belt in a trash can. I don't whatever. And underneath his maintenance worker outfit is a tux. So he's been wearing a tux the whole time. He checks himself in the mirror. He's like, oh my God, I look so slay. Let's go. Then it cuts back to Ian, and Ian and his goons are in their very own creepy van, and they have, like I said, so many guns. Oh my God. They have so many guns. Which is, very accurate for the United States. Anyone can get a gun. In their creepy van, they pull over this grate right outside National Archives, go down into the grate, and they're able to get into basically the sewer system in the basement, and they turn off a fan to like keep sneaking underneath. They break a fan. It's like giant like maintenance fan. I don't know what it does. I'm sure maybe it's something to do with air conditioning, but who knows? They are into the basement underneath the National Archives. So then Abigail is obviously at the gala. She works at National Archives, and she is in this super cute little black dress, and she has such a good haircut. Every single time I saw her hair in this movie, I was like, girl, you look so good. She looks adorable this entire movie. She is wearing this cutie little black dress, and she's just kind of walking around. She looks kind of awkward. It seems like she doesn't know any of her coworkers super well. Abigail and Ben run into each other during the gala. They're kind of flirting a little bit, whatever. And Ben is, oh my God, he's such a dick. He just says just the most dickish stuff to her. Girl, don't flirt with him. He's not nice to you. He's like kind of mean to you right now, and he's been so condescending. One of Abigail's coworkers brings her over a drink, and Ben offers to take the one that she was already holding, so that she can take it off the other guy's hands, because he brought her a drink, which was really, really kind. Ben does this weird like cheers, and it's just weird. And Abigail's like, boy, what is wrong with this guy? He's so fucking weird. Ben drinks his entire glass of champagne. Everyone else is like taking a sip because it's, a little cheers. They go. Ben just chugs the whole thing. What? He's crazy. He's so scary. I'm scared of him. So Ben drinks the entire champagne flute. It's weird, whatever. Ben uses Abigail's old glass to get a fingerprint off of it for a fingerprint scanner that he apparently knows is going to be necessary. He goes into the bathroom to do that, and he also gets his maintenance belt back out of the trash can. All while Ian and his goons are sneaking into the lower levels of the building. They tase a security guard, and then they use his thumb to get into the next room. And it does kind of a little cut scene where it's like both scenes at the same time, and it shows Ben using Abigail's thumbprint to get into the next elevator, which takes them downstairs to the preservation room. So it's like happening simultaneously. Riley at the same time I guess not all at the same time, but he has already used all his hardwiring from earlier, and he turns off the security cameras in the hallways that Ben is going to be walking through so that security doesn't see anything. Call back to when Ben sent Abigail that campaign button. I guess she didn't wash her hands after she touched it and before she went into the preservation room. That is containing, and she's able to access so many documents. I mean, I guess she wears gloves, but still, girl, that is crazy to me. And so he uses a little black light, I would say, to show up all the liquid that was on Abigail's hands. And the lock to access the preservation room in the basement is a keyboard. That's kind of weird to me. That's a weird one. That's a weird one to pick. It's a very odd way to secure your room. But I guess if you already had the fingerprint, I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. Anyway, Abigail's fingerprints are over it, and he can see which keys she has specifically touched. And he basically sends back to, tells Riley all the letters she's touched, and they run it through an anagram machine, sort of. Riley starts listing off all of the possible combinations, and Ben realizes that like I said, he's a smartass, and he realizes her password so fast, which is Valley Forge. Okay, cool. I don't know, whatever. She's a history nerd, so Valley Forge it is, I guess. Ben makes it into the preservation room and starts using his tools from his maintenance belt to start attempting to take the Declaration out of its bulletproof case that it's stored in, obviously, because it's temperature controlled and all this kind of stuff. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Riley's video... Why did I smack my TV so hard? I'm so sorry. Riley's video feed goes out, and he starts freaking the fuck out. He's like, Ben, I don't have visuals. I can't see you anymore. I don't know where you are. I don't know what's happening. And that is because Ian's goons somehow take over the video feed. They turn... I don't know what they do. There was some sort of interference, and Ian's guys have control over the video feed right now for the security cameras. So Ben decides in a moment of panic to take the Declaration in its bulletproof case just into the elevator. He starts taking it in the hallway, and he is like almost to the other. He hits the button, and at the other end of the hallway, a door opens, and it's Ian and the goons. They have a gun. They have so many guns. Oh my God, they have so many guns. They start shooting at Ben. But remember, the case on the declaration is bulletproof. So Ben is able to, it gets like 3 gunshots on the case, and then the elevator opens. Ben is able to get in the elevator, shut it, go down. While the elevator is going down, he starts using the little tools from his maintenance belt, and he's able to get the declaration out. And then Ian and his goons are like, well, shit, we gotta go. So they go back down through the maintenance tunnel, like immediately. They just go back the way they came. So when the elevator lets out, Ben kind of sticks the declaration up his sleeve. He rolls it. I guess he also had this like plastic film sheet sort of thing that he put it in to protect it. So he sticks it up his sleeve, and he's kind of acting really shady. He sees Abigail walking around looking for him. I guess Abigail had walked up to the host, people like working the host stand, or like working the door at the gala. And she was like, hey, do you guys have a Paul Brown on your list? And they're like, no, who the hell is that? And she's like, oh my fucking God, are you kidding? Oh my God, this guy's so weird. Ben sees Abigail looking around, and I'm sure he probably knows she's looking for him. So he sneaks into the gift shop, and obviously he has the declaration up his sleeve. He's walking weird, and the employee at the gift shop is like, are you trying to steal that? And then it pans over, and there is a display of Declaration replicas. And she basically accuses him of trying to steal a replica of the Declaration of Independence. And he's like, no, I wasn't, I'm sorry. And he's like, why was it $35? It's kind of expensive. And he's like, no, I'm not trying to steal it, sorry. And he doesn't have enough cash he only has like $30 to $50 to pay for the Declaration. So he ends up having to use a credit card. Sir, are you dumb? So anyway, now his name is attached to that payment. At the same time, a security guard sees that someone broke in. He's like, well, shit. He starts like monitoring people. Abigail sees Ben leaving the gift shop in a hurry, and she decides to follow him. So they're like running. He's running across the street. He makes it to the van where Riley is, the creepy van. When Abigail catches up and accuses him, she's like, dude, you're being so suspicious. Like, what's up? Like, what are you doing? I don't trust you. Like, what is happening? While that's happening, the archive guards realize that the Declaration is missing out of the preservation room, and alarms start sounding. One of the guards is like, call the FBI, call them right now. It's missing. And then, so alarms very loudly start blaring across the entire street. So across the street where Abigail and Ben are, right next to Riley's van, Abigail's like, dude, you stole it. What are you doing? She's like freaking out. She sees that he has something underneath his arm. She starts grabbing for the Declaration. She starts screaming for security. And Ben is like, she is causing so much trouble. He throws it at her. He literally just throws it at her. And then Abigail starts running back across the street towards the archives. Ben sees Ian's creepy van down the street, and he sees that Ian and his creepy little goons are starting to go after Abigail. So Ben, like in a moment of panic, is like, okay, we're gonna go. He's like, we gotta go. He like gets in the van. He's like, Riley, go. So there starts being a car chase because Ian's men kidnap Abigail with the Declaration, and she's in the back of his creepy van. Riley and Ben in the back of Riley's creepy van start chasing their creepy van all throughout Washington, D.C. And just a quick note, there is a car chase through freaking downtown Washington, D.C., and the streets are literally empty. Now, I don't live in D.C. I don't live in anywhere of the like Nova area. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I have been to DC a couple times, and I have seen so much traffic every single time I've ever been there. I don't think this is accurate. There would be cars. There's like 3 cars the entire chase that they interact with, and they are only there to like make the chase more interesting. There are no, oh my God, it's like literally stupid. So Abigail is like freaking out, obviously, because Ian's goons just kidnapped her with the Declaration of Independence, and she's like trying to get the back of the door open. She's able to get it open, but oh my God, she must be like freaking so strong because she's hanging off the side of the van while holding the Declaration of Independence. She doesn't fall while wearing high heels and a ball gown. Well, it's not like a ball gown. It's like a midi length but it's like tulle. The skirt is puffy. She's a badass. I love her. So she's like hanging from the back of it, and Ben is able to pull her back into their creepy van, but not before Ian is able to grab the Declaration. They go their separate ways. Abigail's now with Ben and Riley, and Ian and his goons have what they assume is the Declaration. So it turns out that Ben bought a replica. He ended up actually buying a replica of the Declaration because he had the foresight to know that he might need a fake. So now he has the fake and the Declaration. And you want to know what he gave Abigail? He gave her the fake, which means Ian has the fake now. Which means Ben still has the real Declaration of Independence. And Ian realizes this pretty quickly because he starts unrolling the Declaration, and he pulls up the little corner and it has a barcode on it, and he gets really, really, really pissed off. Ben is literally such a dick in this upcoming scene. They're in the car. Abigail is rightfully so freaking out because she just got kidnapped. Not once, but twice. She almost got murdered because people were shooting guns at her. She was in the vicinity of being shot at, as well as the Declaration of Independence just got stolen, and she has literally dedicated her life to protecting and preserving historical documents. She is distraught. She is so upset. Ben is just being such a dick. He's being so snarky and like, shut the fuck up. You're so annoying. Oh my God. So it cuts back to National Archives, and there's now so much police and FBI there, and we meet. I put him in a tiny little box because I put his picture a little smaller because he's not like a main character, but he's pretty cool. This is Agent Peter Sadusky. He's head of some sort of FBI situation. I don't really know what he does, but he does something. I don't know what. He's going to be relevant in a lot of ways later, but I just really love him as a character. He's really fun and he's really snarky, but not in the same way Ben is, because Ben's just annoying. Agent Sadusky is just like fun and he's cool. Cut back to the van where Abigail has been kidnapped by Ben and Riley. Ben finally tells Abigail that his name is not Paul Brown. Sorry, Queen. My name is not Paul Brown. My name is in fact Benjamin Franklin Gates. Oh my God. I hate that. His name is Benjamin Franklin Gates. And she goes, oh my God, you're the Gates family with the literally insane conspiracy theory about the founding fathers and the freaking Freemasons. She's so real for that. I love her. Agent Sadusky is walking around the archives trying to figure out what happened. And the agents find out that there weren't any other guards down near the preservation room where they found bullet casings and where they basically found the case for the Declaration in the elevator that has bullet holes through it. And so they're like, who was shooting at who? Because if it wasn't guards shooting at whoever stole it, what happened? And so then after that, the agents figure out that because Ben paid with a credit card, that they figure out that it was Ben who was acting suspicious in the gift shop. So they have enough reason, and he also wasn't on the guest list of the gala, so they have enough reason to like get a warrant to be able to search his home, his apartment. Ben, back in the creepy van, Ben ends up telling Riley that he paid with a credit card, and Riley is freaking out, and he's like, dude, they're gonna figure out that it was you, and then it's gonna be traced back to me, and then it's just gonna be all this, like, it's just gonna be so bad. And he's like, I know, I messed up. And so they can't go back to Ben's house to run tests on the Declaration like they were going to, because they know that the FBI is going to be going to Ben's house. And so they pull over to Park to think on kind of what to do next. Ben says that they need, quote, the letters, and which he is referring to the Silence Dogood letters, which were letters that Benjamin Franklin wrote as a 15-year-old, I'm pretty sure, to the editor of the New England Courant. And he wrote them under a pseudonym name, which was Silence Dogood. Ben says that he has scans of the letters because he knows the person that has the original letters. Abigail is obviously suspicious and asks him if he stole those too. I love her. Oh my God. And then once again, Ben is just such a dick. I hate him. Oh my God, he pisses me off. At the park, Abigail's being super interrogative, which is fair. And to get her to shut up, Ben hands her the case that the Declaration is in, and she obviously tries to run for it with the Declaration. Ben stops her and tells her, okay, you can go. But she refuses to go because she refuses to leave behind the Declaration. She's like, I'm not leaving without it. So then the FBI raid Ben's apartment, and they find basically like a clean room that he's set up that Ben and Riley were going to use to run the tests on the Declaration, as well as finding the digital scans. The FBI find the digital scans of the Silence Dogood letters. One of the agents also starts reading off kind of Ben's history of with like who his family and friends are, and also what his education was. They like mention it in the movie, but I had to go to the National Treasure fan wiki to specifically find this. But I'm going to read off all of Ben's degrees and certifications. Listen to this. I have to read it specifically. Okay, it says that he has his bachelor's in archaeology and cryptology from the University of Philadelphia, his master's in mechanical engineering from MIT, and a doctorate in American history from Georgetown. He also enlisted in the U.S. Naval Reserves while he was at Georgetown, and while he was in the U.S. Naval Reserves, he received naval diving and salvage training certifications. I'm so scared of him. I also intentionally tried to find a really insane picture of him. You'll understand what these glasses are later. I just really tried to find a scary picture of him because I'm scared of him. The diving certifications will come back in later. Because Ben, Abigail, and Riley can't go back to Ben's apartment to run the test on the Declaration, they end up deciding to go to his dad's house in Virginia. Like, I'm assuming in Virginia. It's just like in somewhere in the Nova area. I'm guessing like Arlington or something like that. And meet Patrick Gates. His full name is Patrick Henry Gates. And once again, maintaining the legacy of annoying names, but we love Patrick. Patrick's great. I love Patrick. He slays so hard. His first question to Ben when they show up on his doorstep is he goes, "Is she pregnant? Are you here because she's pregnant?" Because apparently they haven't talked. It's established pretty quickly that Ben and Patrick have not been in contact for quite a while. And Ben replies to the pregnancy question, "Well, if she is, are you going to leave the woman carrying your grandchild standing out in the cold?" Patrick invites them inside. Patrick also immediately accuses Ben of being at his house because of treasure. Ben just immediately hops right into it and asks Patrick for the letters. He keeps asking over and over and over again. Patrick just avoids the question. Patrick is super annoyed that Ben is there because Patrick says that he himself wasted years of his own life looking for the Templar treasure. And he said all he found was just one clue after another. And then that next clue led to another clue. And the next clue led to another clue. And he just wasted years of his life looking for clues and clues and clues. And Abigail says that Patrick is probably right, that there probably isn't even another clue. And Ben's like, okay, let's pull a declaration right now. He doesn't say that because they're obviously not trying to tell Patrick that he stole the Declaration of Independence. So they set up a clean workspace and are about to start kind of like working on the Declaration when Abigail insists that she'll do it because she's literally a professional who is trained to handle antique documents. Very fair. We love our queen. She slays. So Patrick sees them working, but doesn't realize that it's the Declaration. And he said, well, if there's something in invisible ink, it has to come out with heat. And he's like, just throw it in the oven. They all freak out. They're like, no, we can't do that. And he's like, well, you need heat. He walks away. They try the lemon juice on the back of the document to get the ink to show up, and nothing shows up. And Patrick says, I told you need heat. And so there's like a moment with Ben and Abigail, and they blow on the corner of the Declaration where they put the lemon juice. I think that's supposed to be like a little like hinting at something later, but it just annoys me. They see a Freemason symbol on the corner, the upper right-hand corner of the Declaration. And they're like, we need more lemon juice. We need more heat. So apparently Patrick just has like a collection of literally like 20 lemons in his fridge. Who does that? He's literally, you want to know who he is? He was Dakota Johnson with those limes before Dakota Johnson even was Dakota Johnson. I mean, she was alive in 2004, but like, you know what I mean. I told you he slays. He really does. So they end up using a hairdryer and tons of lemon juice, and they get the entire clue, which is basically an Ottendorf cipher. And from what I understand, I don't know ciphers and riddles and clues very well, but basically there are 3 numbers. It's like a number dash number dash number. And basically the first number refers to the page of the key, so like page 3, and then the next letter refers to the line on that page, so like line 12, and then the last number refers to the letter, the number of that letter on that line. So it's like number 4. So it's like page 3, line 12, number the fourth letter in the 12th line, etc. So apparently the reason they needed the silence do good letters is that the key and silence uppercase S from the riddle earlier that they found on the Charlotte means the silence do good letters are the key to the code on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Patrick Gates has the originals. So Ben, once again, he's like, Dad, we really need the letters now. And Patrick says, well, I donated them. I don't have them anymore. I donated them to the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. Abigail is just having an absolute moment of disbelief and is like, what the fuck? I didn't, like, there's been a literal thing on the back of this for who knows how long. And I am supposed to be this like know-it-all historian and antique document person. And I just never knew that there was this on the back of the Declaration the whole time. While Abigail is just like reminiscing and being like freaked out that there is something on the back of it, Patrick's curiosity gets the better of him and he's like, on the back of what? Flips it over and he's freaking out that they stole the Declaration of Independence, obviously. That's pretty a given. And then he gets super mad at Ben and he's like, you're destroying your life, which is fair because he is. Cut to the next scene. The FBI is arriving on Patrick's doorstep and they open the door to find Patrick duct taped to his chair. Now, I will say, Ben did give him a soda and turned the TV on in front of him. So at least it was humane, right? But yes, Patrick is duct taped to a chair. That Ben duct taped his father. The FBI also find out that Ben stole Patrick's car. Back to Ben, Riley, and Abigail in Patrick's car. Ben says, hey, we should probably change because we look really suspicious because we're all really dressed up. Well, I guess Ben and Abigail were super dressed up. Apparently, Patrick kind of keeps like a pocketbook and he keeps $100 bills tucked between the pages. And so they also stole hundreds of dollars from Patrick too. So yeah, he's like, we should change. Then the scene pans and they are shown to be driving into Philadelphia at sunrise. Okay, so next scene, we are at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. And there's this little kid counting lines and letters from the Silence Do Good letters. He, on his way out, he gets the last letter for the line. He, on his way running out of the museum, he bumps shoulders with, you guessed it, Ian. Okay, so it turns out that Riley is giving the little kid for $1 for every 4 letters that the kid brings back. Riley is like, okay, here's another $1. Go get the last 4 letters. You got it. Go. The kid runs back in, and Ian is now looking at the Silence Do Good letters because Ian figured out that I don't even know. I don't know how he figured this out. He's not that smart. He's pretty stupid. He lets Ben do everything for him this entire movie, and he just benefits off of it. Ian figures out that apparently the Silence Do Good letters have something to do with it. So he sees the little kid counting the letters and he gets suspicious and follows the kid out of the museum when the kid gets the last letters. He has his little paper to report to Riley. But I guess while Riley was waiting for the kid, he was able to figure out the last 4 letters of the code thing with context and he just leaves. Which is fair. Good for him. Cut to Ben and Abigail. They go into Urban Outfitters to get a change of clothes. I don't understand why they're in Urban. It's so expensive. Oh my God, it's so expensive. This was also my first experience with Urban Outfitters as a child because I lived in very rural Ohio. Never heard of it until this movie. And I used to think it was such a fancy store. And now I have clothes from there. They're shopping for clothes, for a change of clothes. Ben and Riley. No. Ben and Abigail have a kind of flirty bonding moment. God, this fucking shit again. Riley arrives back at Urban to meet up with them and reads the clue from the Silence Do Good letters, which reads, the vision to see the treasured past comes as the timely shadow crosses in front of the house of Pass and Stowe. All 3 of them know that Pass and Stowe were the creators of and designers of the Liberty Bell. So the House of the Liberty Bell being Independence Hall in Philly and Timely Shadow, which refers to a specific time. So Ben asks the cashier if he can see one of the $100 bills that he just paid for the clothes with. And she obviously is like, no, why the hell would I do that? But he lets her keep his fancy diving watch as collateral. Listen, I know I'm sure that thing is really expensive, but as someone who works in like food service, and sometimes people do pay in $100 bills even for like fast food, I would oh my God, if I ever saw one of my employees do that, because like I'm a shift lead, if I ever saw one of my employees do that, I would be so upset. Girl, that's so bad. Don't do that. So the cashier is like, okay, whatever. On the back of the $100 bill, there is a painting of Independence Hall. Ben uses a zoom and enhance. Nope, not really. Ben uses a water bottle as kind of like a little like microscope. That's not the right word. A magnifying glass. Oh my God. He uses a water bottle as a magnifying glass to read what time it says on the clock on the painting of Independence Hall on the back of a $100 bill. That was so confusing. My God, I'm so sorry. So Ben sees that the time or on the back of the $100 bill says 2:22. Ben asks the cashier, do you know what time it is? And she says, almost 3. And Ben's like, oh, damn it, we missed it. But Riley's insistent that they didn't miss it. And he is literally reveling in the fact that he's like, I know something about history that you don't. Oh my God, let me have this moment. Abigail and Ben are both like, Riley, let's go. We got to talk about this. We don't have a lot of time. And basically, Riley just reminds them that daylight savings time was not established until World War I. So in 1776, or not actually 1776, but you know what I mean, when that painting would have been created. So I guess it would have been almost 2. So it'd be like 1:40. So they have like 30 minutes to get there, 40 minutes to get there. Okay, so then they 3 all rush to Independence Hall, and Ian and the goons give the little kid who was getting the letters for Riley $100. And they're like, I just want the last 4 letters that you were going to give him. And he hands him a paper and it says STOW. Ian and the goons Google Stow, and it's so funny, the fake Googles that they used in early 2000s movies of like search.com and Bing, and like nobody uses that shit. It's just Google. They Google Stow and they figure out Independence Hall. He goes, top results, Independence Hall. Okay, so they go to Independence Hall 2. Ben, Riley, and Abigail sneak up into the bell tower, and they use the shadow from the bell tower to point to a specific brick on the side of the building. Ben tells Abigail and Riley to meet him in the signing room. Ben goes on the roof and finds a hollow brick with a Freemason symbol on the outside of it. He pulls it out, and you want to know what he finds inside? The weird-ass glasses. I told you they'd come in. So all this while they had already found the basically 3D glasses, I'm going to call them 3D glasses, Ian and the goons are down in front of the Liberty Bell, but then they look up and they're like, shit, we got to be up there, because they overhear the tour guide say that the Liberty Bell was retired when it cracked, and there's a different bell up in the bell tower. They're like, shit, we got to be up in the bell tower. So they start trying to go up to the bell tower. Ben goes down into the signing room with Abigail and Riley. In the signing room, they all unroll the Declaration and look through the glasses on the back of the Declaration and see the words "Here at the Wall." Here is spelled with 2 E's, so it's Heere. While they're looking at it, like Abigail and Riley both take a look through the glasses. Ben, through the window in the signing room, sees one of the goons, and he's like, shit, they found us. How'd they find us? I don't know how that happened. They decide that the goons can't have all of the pieces. Like, they can't have the Declaration and the glasses, so they decide to split up. Ben takes the empty carrying case that he'd been carrying the Declaration in, as well as the glasses, and Riley and Abigail take the Declaration. So the pieces have been split up. They go in different directions. Goons number 2 and 3 see Ben leaving, and goon number 1 follows Abigail and Riley and radios for goon number 4 to meet him somewhere. The goons are chasing all of them separately. Abigail and Riley going through a random side door because they're trying to sneak through, and they end up in like a food market of sorts. While they're running, Abigail and Riley get separated. Oh no. Abigail panics and jumps the counter into like a meat counter, basically. And the worker at the booth obviously gets mad at Abigail and is like, girl, why are you here? And Abigail says that she's hiding from her ex-husband. And the worker goes, Baldy? Abigail said, because she's referring to goon number 1, which we will have a moment with later. So we'll talk about him at a later time. And the worker basically says, she's like, you can stay here as long as you like, because goon number 1 looks that creepy. He's creepy. Ben, at the same time, runs into a cemetery as a shortcut, and goon number 3 starts shooting at Ben through kind of the gates. Ben is able to round a corner, and he knocks out goon number 2. Bye-bye, goon number 2. See you later. Riley catches up with Abigail in the food market, and they are able to get out of the food market, but goon number 1 sees them escaping and runs after them. Ben goes up some scaffolding on the side of a building to the roof, and he gets cornered on the roof by goon number 3, obviously. Goon number 3 is pointing a gun at him, and he's like, throw me the document, throw it to me. Ben tosses the carrying case at goon 3, and he's able to escape before goon 3 realizes that the case is empty. So as Abigail and Riley are running from goon number 1, Riley gets stuck in a tour group as Abigail's like turning around being like, oh my God, where did you go? It runs into the street basically and collides with a biker, and she drops the declaration and it rolls, and there's a dramatic moment, and it pans to someone picking it up, and guess who it is that just got it? Ian now has the declaration. All that for Ian to get it. Oh my God. And Ian, literally, he's just like, let them go about Abigail and Riley, because he's like, we have the declaration. It doesn't matter. Quickly back to the FBI. One of the agents informs Sadusky that they found Patrick's car in Philadelphia. So Ben, Abigail, and Riley are all kind of scot-free now. Ben tells them to meet at the car, but Ben also knows that like Abigail's like, we lost it. Like he has it. And he's like, okay, you guys are safe? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, okay, we'll figure it out. So they all go to meet at the car. Ben gets there first, but the FBI is already there. They're there. I don't know how they got there so fast, but they're all there, including Sadusky. I don't know where Sadusky was, but he teleported, I guess. So they meet him and arrest Ben, obviously, at the car. Abigail and Riley see this happening as they're walking up, and they just like are able to not look suspicious. I guess nobody sees them, and they just like turn the corner and go the other way. Riley and Abigail are obviously very upset, and Abigail asks Riley if he knows of a way to get in touch with Ian. Pan back to the FBI office. Ben has told Sadusky basically the whole story of what has happened, and obviously Sadusky doesn't really believe him. Sadusky explains that Ben has basically 2 options. He's either go to prison for a really long time or help them get the declaration and still go to prison for a really long time, but you'll feel better about it. You know, you helped them get the declaration back. Ben asks if there's an option that doesn't lead to prison. He's like, I just don't really want to go to prison, even though he literally stole the Declaration of Independence. That's fine. And trespassed on federal property by trespassing at Independence Hall. Ben asks if there's an option that doesn't go to prison, and Sadusky replies, someone's got to go to prison, Ben. It's just the cadence in which he says that. That's stuck in my brain for years, clearly. It's been like, this movie's been out for 19 years, so. Sadusky basically asked Ben about the fancy glasses, because obviously he had them on him when he was arrested, and Sadusky is kind of like playing with them as he's talking to Ben, and Ben realizes that there's more to the clue on the back of the declaration that he was missing, because he didn't like move the sides of the colored lenses, because you see how there's a green, a blue, and a red one. The red and the blue one have little handles. The green one can't move, but he didn't move them. So he's like, I'm missing part of the riddle, basically. I'm missing part of it. All we got was here at the wall. There's more to it. While Ben is still there, Ben gets a call on his cell phone, and obviously his phone has been tapped by the FBI. Ben and all the FBI agents put on the little headphones, and Ben answers, and it is Ian. Oh my God. Ian asks Ben to meet him the next morning on the flight deck of the USS Intrepid, which is I'm assuming, I don't actually 100% know, but based on context, I'm assuming that it is a docked aircraft carrier that is open for public tours. Because like I've been on like an old battleship in Boston one time, and it's probably along the same lines where it's like you can go on a public tour, whatever. So he's like, meet me on the flight deck of the USS Intrepid tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in New York City. That's it. Ian specifically tells Ben that he wants him to bring the glasses that he found, as well as that if the FBI wants the declaration back, instead of a box of confetti, Ben has to come alone. So it's the next morning. We're in New York City. Obviously, the FBI is monitoring the situation. They're in a helicopter above the ship, as well as they have 2 agents on the ground kind of following Ben, but keeping a distance. Ben is also mic'd up with a radio to Sadusky. He walks onto the flight deck, and so that the FBI can make sure they're in touch with him while he gets the declaration back. Suddenly, another helicopter comes over, and one of the FBI agents says that it looks like a sightseeing helicopter. But it also could be Ian's team. Sadusky basically is like confirming that Ben is still good with the plan. He says he like wants to make sure that he's with him. And Ben replies, I'm sure not against you if that's what you're asking. He's like, I want to help you guys get the declaration back. That's the goal here. Ian's goons start making themselves visible and use some sort of like signal blocker so that Ben's radio to the FBI doesn't work. Goon 1 walks up to Ben. Goon 1 says to Ben, Thomas Edison only needed one way to make a light bulb. And that is something that Ben quoted to Riley and Abigail at an earlier time in the movie. And I forgot to note when it was because I kind of forgot about it until just now. So Ben, because Goon 1, his name is Shaw. He's like the only one that has a name and I remember his name. Goon 1, because he quoted that at Ben, Ben's like, oh shit, Abigail and Riley are like a part of this, because Ben knew that Abigail and Riley would have remembered that quote from him saying that earlier. Ian's team's helicopter starts flying super low over the aircraft carrier as a distraction, and lots of people kind of start running, and it causes so much noise that the FBI can't hear anything from Ben's mic, as well as the helicopter is blocking the other agents' like view of Ben, so they like can't see him. I don't really know. So Goon 1 gives Ben instructions to run behind a specific F-16 on the corner of the flight deck and to run to the corner of the observation deck. The helicopter finally, that was like blocking the whole view, moves out of the way. Because the helicopter was blocking the way, the FBI didn't see that Goon 1 talked to Ben, and so they just see him suddenly moving really fast. And then the signal blocker goes away. They have ears back with Sadusky, and Ben says that he is still not against Sadusky, but he found door number 3 and he's taking it. And as he says that, Sadusky's like, agents, move in, move in. Ben just jumps over the side of the freaking aircraft carrier. Remember, he has diving certifications from his time at the Naval Reserves. He still doesn't have diving equipment though. And typically you're not jumping from like 30 feet in the air into the Hudson River. I've never been to New York, but I've read Percy Jackson and I've heard that the Hudson is disgusting. Sadusky tells them to bring out the divers. So Ben meets up with one of the goons underwater, and the goon has like a little like oxygen mask for him, and then they whisk away on some sort of like underwater, I don't want to call it a submarine, but it kind of looks, it's just like a mini ship thing with like handles and a propeller. I don't know what it is. Sadusky's like, do you guys have eyes on him from the helicopter and all that stuff? And one of the agents says, sir, we don't have eyes on anything. It's the Hudson, because it's like very brown and nasty. So the mini sub, I guess I'm calling a sub, takes Ben to the opposite side of the river, and the goons meet up with him. Ben's very, very insistent about finding out if Abigail and Riley are okay. That's kind of all he cares about. And Goon 1 says to Ben, ask your girlfriend. She's the one calling all the shots now. Ben's like, okay, cool. Ben is put into a car back into New York City with the goons, and the goons get a call from Abigail. They hand Ben the phone, and she says that helping someone escape from FBI custody is a criminal act. So they called the only criminal that they knew, which was Ian. Riley is also tracking Ben's location through GPS so that if they try to take Ben anywhere that's off the route that they decided on previously, they can call the FBI and give them the goon's current location, as well as they know that Ian is across the street. Like they can see him. Abigail and Riley are like hiding out like a Starbucks or something across the street from where Ian is. Now, where are they? This is a very important where are they? They are at the intersection of Wall Street and Broadway. And this will be explained very shortly why this is important. Abigail over the phone does say that there is a catch. They told Ian that he could have the treasure. That's it. So the car pulls up, Ian meets up with Ben, and Ian has both the declaration as well as the meerschaum pipe that they found on the Charlotte. But Ian says that he knew Ben would keep his promise, but then demands that he wants to know where the actual treasure is. Ben says it's right here at the wall with 2 E's. Wall Street follows the wall that the original Dutch settlers built to keep the British out. The main gate was located at a street called De Heer, also with 2 E's. Later, De Heer Street was renamed Broadway when the British got in, so here at the wall. Ben also reminds Ian that if he breaks their deal, the FBI are only a couple minutes away. Ian isn't really convinced that that is all the map said, and he's like, we need to look at this thing. Ian also says that he knows Ben can't bluff, and he knows that Ben is lying about that being all that the map said. And Ian tells Ben, he's like, basically, I'm holding all the cards right now. And you want to know why he's holding all the cards? He motions across the street, and one of the goons opens the door of a car, and Ben sees that Patrick is tied up with duct tape again. He got tied up with duct tape twice in one movie because of his stupid son. This guy sucks. Oh my God, he's the worst. And then they're like, we're going to go inside Trinity Church. So they go inside Trinity Church. Ian also says that why don't they have Dr. Chase and Riley join them since they're around here somewhere? Ian says that they'll let Patrick go if they can find the treasure, but Ben just hands over the glasses and the declaration and says that Ian can find it on his own. He's like, let my dad go. Let my dad go. Ian says that Ben doesn't fully understand the gravity of the situation. So then they're all inside the church. Patrick is brought in. You don't really fully understand the gravity of the situation. As the goons bring in Abigail and Riley. So they basically have Patrick, Abigail, and Riley all as collateral. They have so many people captive. Oh my God, why are they taking so many kidnaps? Holy crap, this is crazy. Ben hands over the glasses, whatever. They unroll the declaration once again in Trinity Church, and we first see here at the wall, which is what we saw earlier. Ben moves the blue and the red lenses, and it now reads Parkington Lane. Then he puts the red lens back down, and it reads beneath Parkington Lane. He hands the glasses to Ian, and Ian asks why the map would lead them to Trinity Church and then immediately elsewhere. And Ben agrees. He's like, that's weird, saying that Parkington Lane has to be here somewhere, as in like in the church somewhere. Is there a street beneath the church? Great question. So the whole squad starts going downstairs. The goons, Ian, Riley, Abigail, Patrick, Ben, the whole squad. Patrick gets Ben aside and says that while Ian needs them right now, as soon as they get to wherever this ends, Ian won't need them anymore, and he will either leave them behind or kill them. Ben replies that they need to find a way to make the status quo change in their favor. Riley finds a grave kind of on the wall of the basement that says Parkington Lane, which turns out to be a person, not a street. Parkington Lane was apparently a third-degree master mason. Kind of out of nowhere, one of the goons comes in with like a crowbar and starts hammering through the gravestone on the wall. They pull out the coffin, which breaks and obviously has a very old skeleton in it. That is so creepy. And the empty tomb leads into a tunnel. And Riley, just throughout this whole thing, continues to be comedic relief, but I love him for it, and I respect him so deeply. Ian orders two of the goons to basically stay in the church, and he says that if anyone comes out of the tunnel without Ian, to, quote, use their imagination. Ben goes in first, followed by Ian, and then everyone else kind of after. Ben kind of immediately finds a torch on the wall of the creepy tunnel, and Ian uses a lighter, lights it. Ben continues to lead the way through the tunnels with his torch. He stops at like a broken wooden beam that's like cut like over the bottom of the tunnel to kind of help people over so they don't trip. And while Abigail is walking by, he pulls her in and kisses her. Abigail is way too good for this man. She is wonderful. Now, she has been complicit in federal crimes, but I will forgive her. Also, a side note, she did change her entire morals the second she realized he wasn't lying about the declaration. So, girl, I wanted better from her. They reach a kind of spooky bridge of sorts, which leads onto this giant wooden chandelier, which Ben lights the lights on the chandelier with the torch. Him and Riley kind of untie the chandelier because it was connected to the side of the wall. And when it moves into the middle of this giant room, they basically see that they are in this cavern of sorts with these wooden it's a wooden staircase, but it's like circular and it's going down very slowly. Circular walkway going down the bottom of the cavern. There's also a ton of dumbwaiter elevators with pulley systems. One of the goons says, how in the world did a ton of people with hand tools build all of this? And Ben replies, well, it's the same way that they built the pyramids and the Great Wall of China. And Riley goes, yeah, the aliens helped them. I love this man. Ian, for some reason, hands Patrick one of the torches and insists that he go on the freaky walkway first for some reason. And then all of a sudden the entire structure, all the wooden, starts like rumbling. And they're like, oh shit, I think it's because we're underneath the subway. And goo number 1 takes his next step and falls through the wood to his death, to the bottom of the cavern. Goodbye, Baldy, because that is what the lady at the market called him when Abigail was hiding from him. May Baldy rest in peace. Let me show y'all something I made. R.I.P. Shaw. He's the only character who's only one of the goons who I remember. So R.I.P. Shaw / Baldy / goon number 1. Like I said, according to National Treasure Wikipedia, I looked at a lot of stuff and it says that he died in 2004. So yeah, R.I.P. Shaw. When I was watching the movie, it came over me to make this. So despite people and everyone in the group not really liking Shaw, goon number 1, very much, it's still very traumatizing to see him fall to his death. That's just like a not great thing to watch happen to anybody. And so everyone's kind of a little bit distraught. Immediately after goon number 1 falls to his death, the part of the walkway where Ben was standing starts crumbling. They start collapsing and everyone kind of starts scrambling. Riley jumps to a different portion of the walkways. Goon number 1 jumps on the pulley elevator, which then he is followed by Patrick and Ian. They like all jump onto the pulley elevator. Ben and Abigail jump onto the other pulley elevator, but one of the ropes snaps and they immediately start falling with the elevator. It thankfully collides with one of the walkways and halts the fall. Abigail almost falls off, but Ben is able to grab her and save her from falling off the pulley elevator with one hand. The declaration, which if you remember, it was kind of, Ben was wearing it as a strap in his little like carrying case. Somehow when they fell, it also fell off of his back, which I don't really know how that happens, but whatever. It starts rolling off the side of the pulley elevator. And Ben basically has to make a split-second decision on whether to save Abigail, this woman who he just kissed, and also a fully human being, or the Declaration of Independence. What would you do? What would Jesus do? What would Ben Gates do? What would Benjamin Franklin Gates do? I don't know. What would he do? Abigail sees that the Declaration is falling, and she's like, are you gonna grab it? Or are you gonna save me? And Ben, he does drop her, knowing that Abigail is going to safely fall onto one of the walkways. Before he does drop her though, he asks if she trusts him, and she's like, yeah, I do. Even though he kidnapped her. Stockholm Syndrome, I guess. I don't know. Probably. Kind of a weird subplot, man. I don't know what to tell you. Ben gets the Declaration. He's able to save it, but then the elevator starts breaking more than it already was, and Ben is literally about to plummet to his death. And then suddenly Patrick, I guess, finds a rope on the elevator that him and goon number 2 and Ian are on, and he throws it down to Ben, and Ben is able to catch it. Ben is able to swing to the walkway where he meets up with Abigail and Riley. The elevator with Ian, goon number 2, and Patrick kind of starts lowering down to eyesight with Ben, Abigail, and Riley. And Ian basically tells them, come on, we're gonna get on. And Ben's like, dude, it's clearly not worth it. One of your homies just died. Me and Abigail almost just died. And we all also almost just dropped the Declaration. This is getting so stressful. But Ian is such a dick. Like, I know he's the bad guy, but oh my God. He asked Ben if Ben thinks that any one of their lives were more valuable to Ian than Shaw's. The answer is no. Apparently, they might have been in love. I don't know. Were they in love? Was he in love with goon number 1? Was he in love with Shaw? Maybe. Cool. That could be another subplot. I would be more interested in that subplot than Stockholm Syndrome with Dr. Abigail Chase. Apparently, Ben's also a doctor because he has his doctorate from Georgetown. I fucking hate Ben Gates. Oh my God, I hate him. After he tells Ben that, he's like, okay, we're gonna keep going. Patrick reminds Ben to keep the status quo. And honestly, don't 100% know what that means, but in the context of the movie, it makes sense. And it's just like, remember, we have to keep it up, whatever. So they all take the elevator to kind of another tunnel. They secure the elevator to the side. Ben once again leads the way with his fancy torch. He's like, there's like the poster of the movie where it's like him holding that fancy torch. He uses that for a big portion of this, kind of the end of this movie. And they enter some sort of like circular room with all these like alcoves on the walls. And Ben goes around the room like lighting up all the torches. And Patrick, also who has a torch, lights up this lantern in the middle of the room. It'll come back in just a second. The room is literally empty besides these alcoves along the wall, and there's nothing in them. Ian and Goon 2 are pissed that the room is empty, and Riley is like, we came all this way for a dead end. There's nothing here. There's no doors anywhere else, and there's nothing in this room. There's nothing here. Ben looks very dejected. He's very upset and says, well, yeah, there's no more clues. This is the end of the road. Someone else got to the treasure before we did, or it was moved. He is kind of given up at this point. He's like, holy shit, like, I was ready to give up a while ago when your homie fell to his death, and now this is really not here. Ian is suspicious, doesn't trust Ben, and is like, you're playing a game with me. You know another clue, or you know where it is. Ben responds just like, no. And Ian tells Goon 2 to go, and Goon 2 starts running back towards the pulley elevator. And Ian follows like immediately after. Ian and Goon 2 hop on the pulley elevator, and it slowly starts rising up, which is literally leaving Patrick, Abigail, Riley, and Ben in this room where they are stuck. There is no way to get out because the walkway is not walkable. They cannot walk the rest of the way up. Abigail says, she's like, you can't just leave us here. And Ian's like, well, yeah, I actually can. Unless Ben has more clues to share. And Ben's like, I don't have any other clues. There are no more clues. This is the last one we got. Riley says that Ian should just come back down. We can talk it through. But then Ian pulls a gun on Riley and is like, shut up, dude. Shut the fuck up. Creepy. Ian cocks a gun and demands of Ben that Ben tell him another clue. He's like, I know you know more. I know you know more. He also is like, tell me where the treasure is. You know where the clue is? You have another treasure. Where the hell is it? Where is it? Patrick panics. He is panicked because there's a gun. The chances are super high of them getting left behind. And Ian says if he doesn't give another clue, he won't take them with him. So Patrick tells Ian that as part of Freemason teaching, King Solomon's temple had this like winding staircase that signifies a journey that has to be made to find the light of truth. He also insists that the lantern back in the little alcove room was a clue. Ian asks what it means, and Patrick responds that it is pointing towards the Old North Church in Boston, where a lantern was hung in the steeple to signify Paul revered that the British were coming, quote, one if by land, two if by sea. AKA, there's one lantern, follow the winding staircase to the steeple of the Old North Church, and that will be where the next clue is basically what Patrick's saying. Ian says thank you, and just takes off the elevator, starts to leave, saying that they'll just all escape in Boston. And with them out of the picture, there is less baggage to carry. Good God. He also says that if there's another clue, he knows where to find them, which is true. And with that, Ian and Goon number 2 just rise up. They're just like, bye, we're leaving you here. Bye-bye. See you later. Abigail, Patrick, Ben, and Riley walk back into the room with the alcove. And Abigail is really confused, and she's like demanding of Patrick and Ben what's going on because she knows that the British came by sea. Thus, there were 2 lanterns hung in the steeple of the Old North Church, not one. Patrick said that Ian needed another clue, so they gave him one, even though it was fake. He made it up on the spot, which is a pretty good one. He's pretty smart. The crew starts looking all over the room again, and Ben sees a painting of the all-seeing eye, Freemason symbol, on the wall of one of the alcoves. Underneath the painting, he finds this like large button of sorts situation. Riley is obviously still very upset and says that when Ian comes back and knows it was a fake clue, he's gonna kill all of them. Like, he's gonna shoot all of them and they're all gonna die. Ben says, well, no one's gonna die because there's another way out, and it's through the treasure room, and presses the button on the wall. Patrick and Ben together work to push the wall open, and they go into this kind of it's a pretty small room, and it looks really ransacked. Like, it appears like there used to be treasure in this room, and it was all taken. It got sorted through. Ben is distraught. He's very upset, and he just like, at this point, he had his hopes up for a second. Like, he was very defeated earlier. Then he got his hopes up for a second, and then he got really defeated again. He is basically like, maybe the treasure was gone before old Declaration guy from the beginning even gave the clue to great grandpa. Patrick literally is like, dude, it doesn't matter because you were right, Ben. The room was real, and it is proof that the treasure exists, which means that all of our ancestors, they weren't liars. We finally, we found it. We know it's real. We know that they weren't lying. Ben found what they left behind to find, and he understood the meaning of it. Patrick said that he did it for their entire family, and he's never been so happy to be proven wrong. And it's just like a really cute moment between the two of them, We love Patrick. Big fan. His son, on the other hand, an idiot, but we love Patrick. Ben's still kind of upset because he just really thought he was going to find the treasure. And Patrick says, well, then I guess we'll just keep looking for it. Abigail is like, I'm in. Let's keep going. And then Riley butts in. He says, I don't want to be Johnny Raincloud over here, but like, we're still trapped down here. And where's the other way that Ben told me about? Like, what the hell? Ben replies that it doesn't make any sense because when the builders first would have been gotten down there, they would have cut a secondary shaft for air that goes back up in the case of cave-ins, like just like a security measure. The first thing they did, they start looking around the room again, and they find Freemason symbols and buttons all over the walls. Ben comes across an indentation on the walls in the shape of the pipe from the Charlotte. The secret lies with Charlotte. Crazy. He puts the kind of body of the pipe in, and then he presses the handle into this little hole right above it and turns it like it does a little 180 with it. And suddenly a door on the other side of the room opens up. They all walk into the next room and are met with literally like the coolest view ever. It's this large room filled with like so much gold and statues. There's Egyptian statues, there's old knight's armor, and so many like vases and chalices and candelabras and just like all this old stuff. And Abigail finds scrolls from the library at Alexandria. And oh my God, this would be my dream because the Library of Alexandria is my historical Roman Empire. I think about it constantly. As a reader, it's just like, oh my God. And as someone who's like pretty interested in history, it's so cool. Abigail's me for real. Patrick also finds this like gold necklace kind of charm thing with the all-seeing eye symbol of the Freemasons, which is just kind of like a full circle moment for him, which is kind of fun. Ben kind of keeps wandering and he finds this like half wall sort of that is, I want to say it's probably filled with oil, but he takes his torch and he lights it, and it lights up all the way down the staircase and keeps going into this room and keeps going further and keeps going further. And this room lights up. This airplane hangar sized room lights up. That is filled with so much treasure, statues, like so much cool historical stuff. There's Roman statues and Egyptian statues and like Gothic era stuff. I mean, literally, this room could be the British Museum with how much stuff that the Knights Templar stole from people over the years when they were collecting stuff for this treasure. And, you know, obviously this is extremely fake. There's no such fucking treasure, but like I said, I'm a big fan of history and I love kind of stuff like this. And so I think especially as a kid, I just thought this idea was like super cool. Abigail looks over at Riley and she's like, Riley, are you crying? And he's like, he is crying. And he goes, look, stairs. And there's a staircase on a different wall kind of across the room that leads to a doorway out. So it cuts to this worker in the basement of Trinity Church. He finds the skeletal hand of Parkington Lane, the guy who was in the coffin earlier, and he's startled by Ben coming out of a different one of the grave walls. And Ben just is like, hey, can I borrow a cell phone by chance? Do you have a phone I can borrow? Ben calls Agent Sadusky. He's back, baby. And asks him to meet at Trinity Church. Ben just kind of hands over the declaration, and Sadusky's like, you do know you just handed over your biggest bargaining chip, right? And Ben replies by saying, the Declaration of Independence is not a bargaining chip. Okay, dude. Oh my God. Ugh. Can you tell that I'm this man's biggest hater? Which is funny because I love these. I love these movies. I know they're bad, but I don't know why. He pisses me off, man. I don't know what to tell you. Sadusky asks Ben what his offer is instead then. And Ben is like, what about a bribe of $10 million? As if he's not joking about bribing a literal federal agent, which is a federal offense. Once again, this man's got offense. He can go to jail. He could go to jail for so long. Sadusky asks, I'm taking it that you found the treasure. And Ben says, yep, it's about 5 stories beneath your feet. Sadusky says that the Templars and the Freemasons believed that the treasure was too great for one man to control, even a king. This guy knows stuff. And that's why they went to such great lengths to keep it hidden. And the camera kind of pans down. Sadusky's like going like this. And he has a ring with a Freemason symbol on his hand. So He's a Freemason too, apparently. Ben replies that the founding fathers believed the same thing about government. Ben suggests that they split the treasure amongst the Smithsonian, the Louvre, and the Cairo Museum. And I like that he didn't mention the British Museum because maybe they didn't get any of it. In my world, they didn't get any of it, you know? He also says that the thousands of years worth of history beneath their feet belong to the world, which is kind of cool. And I do agree. Because if you ever find a collection like that, it does belong to, it should be shared with the world. Sadusky jokes and says that Ben doesn't really understand the idea of a bargaining chip. And Ben replies that all he wants is for Abigail to get off completely clean. Like, she wants her record expunged, basically, and he doesn't want her to get in any trouble with her job, whatever. Like, he wants to make sure she's all good. He also says that he really wants the discovery to be credited to the entire Gates family with the assistance of Riley Poole. And he ends by saying he just would really like to not go to prison. Sadusky, once again, says the same line that he said earlier, which is, someone's got to go to prison, Ben. I don't know why. It's just his cadence when he delivers that line that makes me giggle. Ben replies, well, if you have a helicopter, I think I can help with that. So then we cut to a scene of Ian and the goons trying to break into the Old North Church in Boston. Clearly, they moved on pretty quickly from the death of Shaw / goon number 1. May he rest in peace. They are trying to break into the Old North Church in Boston. And suddenly, kind of out of nowhere, so many FBI agents just show up. So many. They come out of every single corner and they arrest Ian and all the goons. And Ian is arrested for kidnapping, true, attempted murder, true, and trespassing on government property. And for some reason, Ben is there. I don't know why. Apparently to gloat over Ian, but like, I don't think you'd bring this man with you. He has committed crimes against the federal government multiple times. So, oops. So then, he has been arrested. He's going to jail. It cuts to the last scene of the movie. We are almost there. Ben, Riley, and Abigail are walking on this like really pretty property. There's like really nice fruit trees on the side. They're all dressed really nice. Riley is on the phone and he hangs up and he's like, oh yeah, they want us in Cairo next week for the opening of the exhibit and they're sending a private jet, blah, 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 blah. Riley says to Ben, big whoop, they offered you 10% and you turned it down. Ben says that 10% was too much. Ben says that the next time they discover a treasure that changes history, Riley can make the call on the finder's fee. And Riley is like, well, what do you care? You got the girl. Ben and Abigail respond by kissing, which is just, give me a fucking break. Riley says, oh yeah, rub it in. Enjoy your spoils while I sit on a lousy 1%. And then he immediately jumps into a red Ferrari. Slay, my king. While still complaining that he only got 1%. He says, for the record, he's like, but for the record, I really like the house. Ben starts rambling about how he bought the estate because in 1812, Charles Carroll, and then he gets cut off by Riley saying some historical person did something fun and blah, 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 blah. And then Riley drives off in his Ferrari, but he drives really poorly. According to the lore of this movie, Riley can't drive. And that is established in this scene. Abigail and Ben start walking into the house and Abigail says that she made Ben a map. It's very cute. She like pulls it out and he asks where it leads to and Abigail says, you'll have to figure it out. And that's the end of the movie. Roll credits, baby. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my deep dive of the first National Treasure movie, and I hope you understand why, even though it is chaotic, if you haven't seen this movie or it's been a really long time since you've seen this movie, I hope you understand why it holds such a weird, special place in my heart. It is such a weird movie, but it is just like, it's so fun to me. It's so goofy. And I'm sure you can see as a child who was really interested in US history, why this movie was so special to me, because it was fun. It was really fun. It was chaotic, but it was just it was a fun movie and I learned some stuff about US history. I will say that if you enjoyed this video, please let me know if you would like me to do a recap of the second movie, which is called Book of Secrets. And maybe after that, if I do that one, I have never watched, they did like a sequel TV show on Disney Plus that came out, I'm pretty sure it came out this year. I haven't watched it. So maybe I could do like a watch with me series and I watch that. I just would have to, I don't really know how to do that so I don't get copyright striked, but whatever. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a little thumbs up. I would deeply appreciate it. And hopefully I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye. See you later.